What if I told you that the most unbreakable system in the world, the law, could be shattered by the one person no one saw coming? Not a slick lawyer in $1,000 suit, not a judge with decades on the bench, but someone so ordinary, so overlooked, that their victory rewrote everything we thought we knew about justice. Stay with me, because this story isn't just shocking, it's proof that power isn't what you think it is. And by the end, you'll question everything you've ever believed about who really holds the gavel. Hit that like button if you're ready to have your mind blown, and subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. Let's dive in. Meet Aisha Thompson, 24 years old. No law degree, no fancy title. Just a single mom from a crumbling neighborhood where hope goes to die. 2 days ago, she was stacking shelves at a grocery store. Today, she's standing in the heart of a courtroom, facing a legal titan, a corporate giant who's crushed everyone in his path. Everyone expected her to lose. The judge smirked, the lawyers laughed, even the jury rolled their eyes. But here's the twist. Aisha didn't just fight back, she turned the entire system upside down. How? Because she had something they didn't expect, something they couldn't buy or bully. And it's the one thing you're about to realize matters more than money or power. 6 months ago, Aisha's life was simple. Work, home, repeat. She lived in a rundown apartment building owned by Horizon Realty, a company worth billions. The rent was steep, the heat barely worked, and the walls leaked every time it rained. But it was home, for her and her 2-year-old son, Malik. Then one day a letter slipped under her door, an eviction notice. No warning, no explanation. Just 30 days to pack up and get out. Horizon wanted to gut the building, flip it into luxury condos, and cash in. Aisha, she was collateral damage. Another nobody to sweep aside. Most people would have given up, signed the papers, moved on. After all, who fights a billion-dollar company and wins? But Aisha wasn't most people. She'd spent her life being told she didn't matter, by bosses who paid her pennies, by a system that chewed up people like her and spat them out. This time, though, they'd pushed too far. She looked at Malik sleeping in his crib and made a choice. If no one else would stand up for them, she would. She didn't have money for a lawyer. She didn't have connections. But she had something sharper, her mind, and a fire they couldn't extinguish. Here's where it gets wild. Aisha didn't just cry or complain, she studied. Nights after work, she hauled Malik to the public library and pored over tenant laws, eviction statutes, anything she could find. She scribbled notes on napkins, taught herself legal terms she could barely pronounce. Why? Because she uncovered something Horizon didn't want her to know. A tiny loophole. A crack in their armor. See? The law says landlords have to prove a just cause for eviction. And Horizon's excuse? It was a lie. Aisha found proof they'd faked maintenance reports to claim the building was uninhabitable. Fraud, plain and simple. And she was about to make them pay. Day 1 of the trial. The courtroom buzzes with whispers. Horizon's lawyer, Victor Crane, struts in like he owns the place. He's got 20 years of experience, a team of assistants, and a client with bottomless pockets. Aisha, she's got her notebook and a borrowed pen. Judge Harold Grayson leans over his bench, peering at her like she's a kid who wandered into the wrong room. "Young lady," he says, his voice dripping with sarcasm, "do you really think you can take on a case like this without a lawyer? This isn't a game?" The gallery chuckles. Crane smirks wider, but Aisha doesn't flinch. She steps forward, chin high, and says, "Your Honor, I'm not here to play. I'm here to win." That's the moment everything shifted. Aisha wasn't just some desperate tenant anymore. She was a force. And what she did next? It's the kind of twist that makes jaws drop. She didn't beg or plead. She opened her notebook and started laying out evidence like a seasoned prosecutor. Lease agreements, forged repair logs, emails she'd dug up showing Horizon's execs laughing about clearing the trash, meaning families like hers. Every word was a dagger, sharp and precise. Crane's smirk faded fast. The judge sat up straighter. The jury leaned in. Victor Crane tried to fight back. "Objection," he barked. "She's speculating. She has no training." But Aisha didn't blink. "Your Honor," she said, "the evidence speaks for itself. They broke the law. Section 1942 of the Civil Code requires good faith repairs before eviction. They didn't fix anything. They lied. The judge couldn't argue with that. He let her keep going. And then, here's the kicker, she dropped the bombshell, a signed affidavit from a former Horizon employee who'd quit in disgust. The guy admitted everything: fake reports, bribes to inspectors, orders to push tenants out fast. The room went dead silent. Imagine this: a billion-dollar company caught red-handed by a single mom with no legal degree. The halo of corporate invincibility shattered right there. Crane's team scrambled, throwing out legal jargon, claiming the affidavit was hearsay. But Aisha was ready. "Your Honor," she said, "the witness is here. He'll testify." The doors swung open, and in walked the whistleblower, pale, nervous, but determined. Horizon's house of cards started collapsing. The whistleblower, let's call him Tom, laid it all bare. "They told me to fake the logs," he said. "Said it was just business. I couldn't sleep knowing kids were getting kicked out over lies." The jury's faces said it all: shock, anger, empathy. Aisha didn't just have evidence, she had emotion. She'd tapped into something primal: the fear of losing everything, the rage at being betrayed by those who hold power. Horizon wasn't just a company anymore, it was the villain. And Aisha? She was the hero no one saw coming. By now, Crane's sweating bullets. He tries one last Hail Mary, accusing Aisha of forging the affidavit. Big mistake. Aisha pulls out a notarized copy, stamped and legit, and says, "If they're so sure it's fake, let's call the notary to the stand." Checkmate. The judge shuts it down. "Enough," he growled. "This court isn't a circus." But it was too late. The damage was done. The jury didn't need to hear more. They saw the truth. Aisha wasn't the underdog. She was the one in control. The jury deliberated for 3 hours. 3 hours that felt like years. Aisha sat outside, Malik on her lap, staring at the courthouse doors. Horizon's execs paced, smug grins gone. Then the verdict came. "We find Horizon Realty liable for fraud and illegal eviction." The courtroom erupted. Gasps, cheers, a few curses from Crane's team. Aisha didn't smile. She just hugged Malik tighter. She'd won, not just for herself, but for every tenant Horizon had crushed. The judge ordered millions in damages and launched an investigation into Horizon's practices. A billion-dollar empire brought to its knees by a woman they thought was nothing. Here's the real kicker. Aisha didn't stop there. That win sparked a fire. Lawsuits piled up against Horizon from tenants across the city. The company's stock tanked. Executives faced criminal charges. And Aisha? She's studying law now, turning her fight into a career. But this isn't just her story. It's a wake-up call. We've been taught power lies in wealth, titles, connections. Wrong. Power lies in the truth and the courage to wield it. So tell me in the comments, what system do you think needs shattering? Hit like if Aisha's story hit you hard, and subscribe for more tales that prove the little guy can win. Until next time, stay curious and never stop fighting.